Locked Room Secrets. Before we dive into this case, hit that subscribe button if you love deep, chilling mysteries, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about security, trust, and the people who work right behind closed doors. The story begins on a gray Tuesday morning inside the towering blue glass headquarters of Grayson Financial, one of the most tightly regulated investment firms on the East Coast. Rain slid down the windows like slow-moving tears as employees gathered in small, anxious clusters. Whispers rippled through the hallways, growing louder with each passing minute. Something had happened on the 15th floor, something no one could explain. At exactly 6:14 a.m., security reported that Evan Ward, the firm's senior compliance executive, had vanished from his office. The room was locked from the inside. The windows were sealed shut. No forced entry, no shattered glass, no signs of struggle. Every camera covering the hallway leading to his office had malfunctioned for precise 32 minutes, and the digital access logs, normally precise down to the second, recorded absolutely nothing. Detective Lena Calder, known for her sharp intuition and refusal to accept easy answers, arrived with her partner, Marcus Hale, just after 7 a.m. The office floor was eerily quiet. Desks were perfectly organized, chairs tucked in, monitors asleep. It was a kind of space where order ruled every corner, making the chaos of sudden disappearance feel even more surreal. Lena paused at the entrance of Evan's locked office. The door showed no damage, no pry marks, no scratches. She pressed a gloved hand against it. "He was in here last," she said, "and this door was locked the whole time." Marcus studied the hallway, which means either he walked out without being seen or someone figured out how to erase their own footprint. Building security handed over the malfunction report. It wasn't a random glitch. Someone had overridden the cameras, disabled 2 security sensors, and wiped the entry logs clean. But the strangest detail was a timestamp embedded deep in the maintenance file. For 37 a.m., nearly 2 hours before Evan was last seen entering his office. Inside the room, nothing was out of place. His laptop was closed. His jacket hung neatly on the back of his chair. A cup of cold coffee sat beside his keyboard. The only unusual item was a single open folder on the desk containing spreadsheets filled with numbers, transfers, and notes about irregularities in internal asset reporting. It was clear that Evan had been working late, too late, on something sensitive. Lena flipped through the documents slowly. "He was onto something," she murmured. "Something that made him a target." As they searched the office, Marcus noticed scuff marks along the baseboard near the window. For a moment, they both thought it could be a sign of forced removal. But the windows didn't open. They were industrial grade, sealed, reinforced, and firm policy forbade any manual access. Then Lena found the first real clue. Behind a framed certificate on the wall, she spotted a thin horizontal line, so subtle it could have been mistaken for a shadow. She pressed the frame, and for a moment nothing happened. But then a soft click echoed through the office. The wall shifted slightly. A concealed panel. Marcus stepped back in disbelief. "You gotta be kidding." Lena pulled the panel open, revealing a narrow, dim-maintenance shaft, dusty, cold, and just wide enough for a person to fit through. The air smelled like old wiring and forgotten construction work from decades past. There were no footprints, no tools, no signs of recent activity. But someone had known about it. Someone who shouldn't have. Marcus whispered, "If he used this, he didn't disappear. He was taken. Or he planned something we don't understand yet." But before Lena could respond, a shout came from the hallway. One of the IT specialists had found something they hadn't seen before. Something buried deep inside the corrupted camera files. A shadow, a figure, standing outside Evan Ward's door at 5:58 a.m., not entering, not leaving, just waiting. And when they enhanced the image, the silhouette looked disturbingly familiar. The notebook sat on the hood of the patrol car, illuminated by a single flashlight beam that trembled slightly in Detective Mercer's hand. Pages were warped from seawater, edges torn as if someone had tried to rip them out in desperation. But the final message, "He followed us," was unmistakable. Sharp, uneven handwriting. A rush of fear captured on paper. Mercer scanned the beach again, replaying every footprint, every disrupted patch of sand, every path that led nowhere. But the worst part wasn't what he saw. It was what he didn't see. No drag marks. No obvious signs of a chase. It was as if the two girls simply walked into the dunes, unaware of the shadow moving behind them. Back at the station, investigators crowded around a large table covered in photographs. The bodies, the dunes, the footprints, the piece of torn fabric, the notebook. No one spoke for a moment. It was a kind of silence that only happened when even trained detectives struggled to make sense of the chaos. Detective Linda Harrow, sharp-eyed and methodical, leaned over the footprint photos. "These patterns don't match a single person," she murmured. Two sets of tracks near the girls. One heavier, one lighter. But the lighter tracks, they're too small. Smaller than either of the victims. She tapped the photograph. Either we're dealing with a third person, or someone was watching them long before the attack. Mercer sat down, rubbing the tension from his neck. The witness saw someone, a man near the ridge, but she didn't mention a child or anyone else. He flipped the notebook to earlier pages. Doodles, casual notes, nothing alarming until the final page. Someone scared them enough to write this. That means the girls knew they were being followed. At least one of them did. Linda studied the torn cloth from the evidence bag. Light beige, coarse texture, not school uniforms, not bathing suits. Looks like work clothes. Maybe canvas, maybe something industrial. Mercer nodded, but before he could respond, a junior officer rushed into the room, breathless. "We got something. A family just called in. Said their son came home crying. Said he saw two girls arguing with a man near the dunes earlier today." Mercer straightened. "A son? How old?" "8. He was too scared to speak earlier, but broke down tonight." The detectives exchanged a look. Those smaller footprints. Within the hour, Mercer and Linda were inside a small suburban home. The boy sat on the couch, knees pulled to his chest. His mother hovered protectively behind him. Mercer knelt to eye level. "You're not in trouble, but what you saw might help us keep people safe. Just tell us what you remember." The boy swallowed hard. "I saw the girls near the dunes. They were laughing at first. Then a man came over. He said something. I don't know what, but the taller girl stepped back. The man kept looking around, then he looked at me. He pulled the blanket tighter. His eyes were wrong." "Wrong how?" Linda asked, her voice calm. He didn't blink. Mercer felt a chill slide down his spine. "Did you see where he went?" The boy shook his head. "No, I got scared and ran home. But I heard something. Footsteps behind me. Not big steps. Small ones, like someone barefoot." Barefoot. Mercer's mind flashed to the faint tracks leading away from the crime scene. When they returned to the station, a new report was waiting. A fisherman had found something at the far end of the beach, buried deep in the sand. A rusted metal lunchbox containing newspaper clippings. Old ones. All about missing girls from coastal towns. All unsolved. Someone had been collecting these articles, studying them, keeping them close. Linda exhaled sharply. This wasn't random. He's done this before. Mercer stared at the clippings laid out on the table. Dozens of names, dozens of faces, a pattern disguised by decades. But one clipping at the bottom made his breath stop. A photo of the same beach, same dunes, same windswept landscape, from 30 years earlier. And written in the margin, in faded ink, were 4 words that made Mercer's skin crawl. "He walks at dusk." Detective Mercer placed the 30-year-old clipping on the table, but his fingers lingered on the faded ink. "He walks at dusk." The phrase echoed in his mind like a warning whispered across generations. Someone had been watching these dunes for decades, studying girls who vanished, learning the landscape like it was a hunting ground. The station lights flickered as a storm built over the coast, wind rattling the windows, as if the beach itself was trying to speak. Linda spread the clippings out by timeline, creating a pattern. "Look at the intervals," she said quietly. "Every few years, a young woman goes missing along this coastline, always near dusk, always near dunes. But the sightings, She tapped the earliest article. They're inconsistent. Witnesses describe different men, different builds, different clothing. Mercer frowned. Copycats? Or one person changing appearance? Linda hesitated. Or something else. Some of these descriptions match men who died years before the later disappearances. It's like the identity keeps shifting. Mercer didn't like the idea. Not because it was supernatural. It wasn't. But because a person capable of blending into different eras, different communities, different eyewitness memories was far more dangerous than a ghost story. As the storm moved in, they drove to the fisherman's shack, the location where the rusted lunchbox had been found. Rain hammered the windshield, turned the world outside into streaks of blue and gray. The beach looked different at night. Empty, endless. A place where secrets didn't just hide, they were swallowed. The fisherman led them out behind the rocks, his lantern flickering. It was buried deep, he said. Someone didn't want it found. He pointed toward a narrow cleft between the rocks. Look there. The wind suddenly dropped, a brief unnatural stillness hanging over the place. Mercer crouched down and noticed marks in sand. Fresh ones, despite the storm. Footprints, a mixture of heavy adult steps and lighter ones. Barefoot, the same pattern from the crime scene. Linda snapped a photo. Who walks out here in a storm without shoes? Mercer didn't answer. His flashlight beam drifted along the rock wall and stopped. A small piece of canvas fabric was wedged into a crack. The same texture as the torn cloth from earlier. He bagged it, but when he rose, something else caught his attention. A long shape dragged through the sand, like someone had been pulling something heavy. The fisherman's voice trembled. I didn't see anyone, but last night before dawn, I heard something. Footsteps. Slow, like someone pacing. Mercer followed the drag marks toward the dunes. The wind howled again, erasing portions of the trail, but the direction was clear, deeper into the dune fields where the girls had been found. The three of them moved cautiously through the rising sand, until the lantern light hit something half-buried. A wooden door, not to a building. There were no structures nearby, but to something below. A trapdoor, old and weathered, reinforced with thick metal hinges. Mercer exchanged a glance with Linda. This wasn't on any coastal maps. Together, they heaved it open. The smell hit first. Damp, stale air trapped underground for years. A narrow staircase descended into darkness. Linda's flashlight illuminated walls lined with newspaper clippings, missing person posters, and photographs of strangers smiling on beaches. At the center of the room was a desk. On top sat a leather journal. Mercer opened it. The most recent entry was dated 2 days before Marianne and Christine went missing. Dusk reveals the unguarded. The dunes keep their secrets. They don't hear me until it's too late. He turned another page. More entries. More dates. More names. And then the last one. 2 today. They walked too far. The quiet one noticed me first. Mercer forced down the surge of anger rising in his chest. The handwriting was careful, steady, practiced. This wasn't the work of a frantic killer. This was someone who planned, someone who studied, someone who had been doing this for decades. Linda whispered, "We need to find him. Now." A sound echoed from above. Soft, deliberate. Footsteps. On the sand. Mercer killed his flashlight. Linda did the same. The three of them stood frozen in the darkness as the footsteps moved slowly across the trapdoor above them. One heavy step, one lighter step, moving in unison. Mercer's pulse hammered as the footsteps paused directly overhead. Then the trapdoor creaked. Dust rained down. The footsteps continued, moving away, fading until only the wind remained. Mercer climbed the stairs, but when he pushed the trapdoor open, the beach was empty, completely empty. No figures, no shapes, no footprints. The storm had erased everything. Back at the station hours later, Mercer stared out the window as dawn approached. They had discovered his hideout, his writing, his history, but not him. And as the first light hit the coast, Linda walked in with a new report. "A girl went missing north of here," she said softly, "just before dusk. Same pattern. Mercer closed his eyes. The case hadn't ended. It had only just begun. If you thought this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.